Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gayle Carson. Welcome to Living Regret Free, a program that shows you how to live a better and more joyful life. As an added bonus, I invite you to listen to an introduction to my Mindset Matters program, which ties into this so well. Go to www.sobmindset.com. It's free, and I know you will enjoy it. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at gaylecarson13@gmail.com or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Hi, everyone. My guest today is David Karchere. He's a motivational speaker, workshop leader, composer, educator, international best-selling author, and thought leader on Primal Spirituality. He's a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle and originated the Healing Chant Workshop and the Journey into the Fire Intensive, and offers workshops and lectures in the United States, Canada, Europe, South Africa, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. He's the author of Becoming a Son, Emotional and Spiritual Intelligence for a Happy, Fulfilling Life, which is a #1 international bestseller in 13 categories in 5 countries. And he lives in wonderful Loveland, Colorado. Welcome, David.
Oh, thank you so much. So good to be on the show.
Well, it looks like you're providing all these lectures and workshops everywhere. I mean, is there any place you're not? I guess that's the question.
Yeah. I haven't yet been to Latin America, but I'm going to Buenos Aires in March for a conference on spiritual intelligence and to go teach at a prep school that's very interested in emotional and spiritual intelligence.
Wow, that's unusual. That's wonderful.
It is.
So tell us about your journey and what led you to write this particular book.
Sure. So really, I'm a child of the 60s. So I grew up in high school in a place called Westport, Connecticut. I was protesting the war. I was looking into intentional community. I was searching for what my life was about, like a lot of other people in that day. And I was angry. I was disappointed. And I knew full well I didn't want to just step into the world that seemed to be all around me. I wanted to create something different for my own life. And I also saw the world going in a direction that was so clearly unsustainable. And I don't think that's changed even to this day. And I ended up leading a march from my high school to protest the war. But that didn't satisfy what was not at ease in my own heart. And it didn't provide the answer that I was looking for. And I finally found that the disease I was seeing in the world around me was actually in my own heart and in my own soul. And that just made it even worse. And what finally happened was that I met somebody from this place where I live now, Sunrise Ranch, who gave me this message, that the answer I was looking for is within me. And that is true for every person, that there's a creativity and a wisdom and a higher love that's within us. And the answer for our lives is to tap into that and express it. And the answer for us as humanity is the same. And I still can't see any other answer for the world that we're in. And so that just set me on a path of learning what that's about and tapping into my own inner wisdom, going through all the life learnings that I have. And then all of that went into the book. I became a poet, so I wrote poetry, had a lot of experiences teaching, doing workshops, and leading various projects. And then the stories of all that and my own life experiences and insights went into this book, Becoming a Son. So that's what happened.
It's amazing because certainly you were brought up in an area that was fairly conservative. And the fact that, you've taken this journey, and I agree with you. I mean, we all are, the answers for all of us are within ourselves. I mean, we can learn from the external forces and from other people and other circumstances, but we are our own best teachers. But I'm not sure I understand, and I need for you to explain to the listeners what it means to become a son.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the premise of the book is that there is a radiance inside us. There is the fire of stars, the light of stars that's within us. And very literally, that's true. So very literally, there's atomic power in our physical body and all the atoms of our body. And we know what happens when you unleash that power in a destructive way. But that power is within us. The power of suns truly is within us. And it's doing all it knows how to do to configure itself not only as a biological being, but as a conscious being. So all that fire of stars, all the light of stars is looking to configure through us, to live through us as a conscious experience, so that we become an expression of warmth, an expression of light and wisdom, so that we have the gravity of the sun, and we're all meant to be people of gravity. And I have a chapter in the book that's all about how that happens, and it relates to courage. So that's really the becoming a sun part of the title. The other part is emotional and spiritual intelligence for a happy, fulfilling life. So to actually activate that sun radiance within us, it takes emotional intelligence. It takes an open heart, and it takes the wisdom of the heart, and then that leads to a spiritual intelligence. So an intelligent way of relating to our own spiritual nature.
Well, I think most people have heard about emotional intelligence because there's certainly enough books written on it, but I had never really heard of becoming a sun. What you're saying is certainly understandable, and I can get through that process. But you also mentioned something called Primal Bond, and right. I don't think I've heard that before either. So what is that?
Yes, sure. So if you allow me to go just on a little bit of a rant about emotional intelligence, I just think that as much as I appreciate the fact that we're talking about it in our culture, I just don't think we've opened up the conversation enough. Because so much of the conversation ends up being about how you perform better at work or how you have a better relationship. And all of that's valid. But there's something just much more core than that that does relate to the primal bond. And I think what we're looking at in the world today is that there is a bond, a natural bond that we have with all of nature, all of creation, and with other human beings. And somehow that bond has become fractured. We've somehow fallen out of the circle of life that we live in to some degree. And because of that, we are destroying the environment in which we live instead of uplifting it. We're not a harmonious part of the natural world. We're somehow something else that is not healthy for the natural world. So the primal bond is restored when we find our natural place in the circle of life. And that does involve a heart connection, an innate knowing of being part of the circle of life, and then an innate knowing of our own sun quality, the power that's within all of nature and that is within us. So that's what the primal bond is all about.
Well, I do think that there has to be heart in just about everything that you do, or there's no meaning in it. But what is your significance then, or definition, or want for emotional intelligence?
Yeah, well, I do believe it starts with the primal bond. So the primal bond is really the first learning experience we have as human beings. And unfortunately for many people, they don't learn the lesson fully, or they forget it. But we're taught that when our parents held us in their arms. We're taught that even in utero. It's a fundamental connectedness. It's a knowing that we're loved by the universe. It's a knowing that we're being nourished every moment of our lives. And so that primal bond, rightly, is something learned in the first relationship we ever have, which is with our parents, and particularly our mother. And then the knowing of that primal connection should never go away. It should always be there in every relationship we ever have, and any relationship where the primal bond isn't present. ends up falling apart. So it is a deep heart connectedness. It's a communication on a heart level. And ultimately, that bond is our connectedness with the Creator that's within us, the Creator of all things. And that's a heart connection, first of all, first and foremost. Not a belief, not an idea, not a spiritual practice. It's a deep-hearted connection with the creative force within us and the creative being that's within us and within all things.
So what do you think are the key elements that are vital for the experience and the teaching of healing and wellness?
Yeah. So the first is the primal bond. And it's interesting, if you go out there and you look at the teachings on emotional intelligence, I think it's mostly overlooked. And it's overlooked because it's not sophisticated, it's not intellectual, it's not really academic, although you could study it. It is something so primal. It is simply knowing that we're loved and loving. It's so simple. It is just that. And it's universal in terms of how we relate to all the elements in our life, to other people, to the natural world, and then to the very source of life within us. So you asked about healing. Is this important to healing? So if you think of any disease state, do you think at the root of that disease state is not a question about whether that person truly is open to let love in and then to let it out? If we don't let love in, the body suffers. If we don't feel love, the body suffers. We get anxious. We get afraid. We get resentful. We hold things against other people. So the primal bond is known when we find a way to release all that and then simply come back to this primal knowing that we have a place in this world. We belong here. We definitely belong. We belong in the pattern of life on the planet and in the universe. And we are loved. We're loved at root by what is at the heart of all people, even though we know we live in a mixed up world where people aren't always loving.
Well, that's true. I mean, but I think one of the ways that people express love is also with animals. I mean, I'm a big animal person, and I know that, the love that they show me and the love that I show them is, you wish that every family had that kind of love. But you also have another phrase, and I'm not sure what this means either. Explain the gravity of courage.
Yeah. Well, I was speaking about gravity, and it is an interesting word and an interesting phenomenon in our life. It's come into common parlance when we say about a person that they have gravitas. And, that could be a good-looking movie actor or something. But gravity and real gravitas is simply an attractive power that a person inherits in their life. And how do we inherit that? Like, what makes a person magnetic? And I don't just mean in some kind of superficial sense. And what it really comes down to is authenticity. So when a person has the authenticity to be themselves, they have the courage to be who they are, to express who they are, to think the thoughts that they alone are thinking, and to express the love that they alone have to bring to the world. They have the courage to act with integrity in their life. That's the person who develops a kind of gravity. That gravity means that they attract to them the people who are meant to be in their life. So just as the planets revolve around the sun because of gravity, the gravity of the sun, the same is true of a person with courage. They attract to them the people that are meant to be in their life and revolve in orbit around that person in their life. So it works with people. It also works with life circumstances itself, and with including one's financial circumstances. So a person who has true courage tends to attract to them the resources that they need to sustain them in their life, that rightly come to them.
Wow. Well, you know, the book that you wrote is both poetry and prose, which is a little bit different, a little bit unusual, I think. So what is the message that you want people to take away from the book? And have you gotten feedback on that?
Well, sure. The message is essentially in the title. So the message is to anyone who reads the book that you're becoming a son, that there's a fire within you, there's a light within you that wants out and is trying to find expression. And then the book has keys to the pathways by which that happens, by which we let it out. And it takes the person on a path, as you say, through poetry and prose. Because, you know, I tried to write this book just as a more academic, kind of prosy kind of book. And it just didn't work because life isn't like that. Life is a journey of the heart. So the book is taking people on a journey of the heart. And then the final chapter of the book is on reflections of grace. So I believe our life journey is taking us to grace, what grace really is. And that's where the book leads.
Well, I'm curious because of the visit that you're going to make in Buenos Aires about going to a prep school. I think it's unusual that a school would invite you, especially a prep school because they're younger kids, to talk about something like this. Where did this come from? What kind of a reaction do you think you're going to get? And tell us a little bit about that, because that's fascinating.
Yeah, I'd love to. So it just turned out that I have a friend who's from Buenos Aires, and he knew about this school, and he knew about a man who is doing programs for young people on emotional and spiritual intelligence. And so he got so excited, he gave a copy of the book to his friend, and then his friend got in touch, and we spoke, and then he invited me to go down there. And he was talking about the programs he's doing for young people, and it's really is just amazing. He managed to speak in a language, I think, that really connected to these young people. So fortunately for me, it's an English-speaking school, so I'll be able to communicate with them, share my poetry, but more importantly, you know, the language of the heart is universal, and it transcends culture, it transcends generations. So I believe, I just have faith that it will connect with them. I myself live in a multi-generational community at Sunrise Ranch. And so we have people of all ages here. We had everybody from Barbara Marx Hubbard, who just passed on. She's a famous author and futurist, to newborn children. And the joy of it all is to find that we're all people, that we're all part of the circle of life, and that we all connect when we are living from a place where the primal bond is intact for us.
Well, I can certainly see why this would be a tremendous opportunity, not only for you, but for the students themselves. I mean, I think that you're exposing them to information that normally they wouldn't get somewhere else. But what was your own experience of becoming a son? Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, you know, I think life is a series of awakenings. And the awakenings that we experience at whatever level, well, we might wish we just woke up on some bright sunny day and just woke up. But usually it involves some kind of process that has some challenge to it. I think most of us as human beings are stubborn. And we keep trying to make something work that's not working in our lives. And we keep doing it until we get good and miserable enough to say, to where we really get desperate and then we're looking for something else. We're ready to hear something new. We're ready to open something new. And I have to say I'm no exception. So at 17, I had a remarkable awakening. I really did. And it just cracked open my heart, cracked open a way of seeing, and of seeing something that transcended the everyday in my life, that opened me up to grace. And I'm so grateful for that. And it's never left me. But at every phase along the way, there's been other awakenings. The challenges of life have called on something deeper in me. And I think that's how it goes for everyone. I ended up living in New York City, right in Manhattan, working for a large corporation down on Wall Street. And there are all kinds of challenges living in the city. And I was really waiting for every weekend when I would get out of the city. And then I was thinking to myself, well, how long do I have to live here? And when am I going to be able to move? There's all this din of noise and just energy and smells and all that and all the people. And finally, I had a little talk with myself. And I said, Dave, you might be living here the rest of your life. Get used to it. Enjoy it. And with that, like, everything changed. And instead of feeling like I was drowning in the city, I felt like I was living in a bubble, but I was floating on top of the bubble instead of drowning in it. And I just began to feel nourished by everything in the city instead of attacked by it. And once I knew I could live there, I knew I could live any place and be free wherever I was. And that was all about me tapping into the creativity that's inside me, as I believe it is in all people.
Well, that's fabulous. In fact, I was just in the city this weekend, and boy, you talk about energy, you talk about people, you talk about mobs, you talk about everything, and it all is going on right in the center of New York City, that's for sure. Yes. Well, tell us first of all, where can they find you, David, and where can they get a copy of your book?
Yeah, well, I'll take the book first. The book's easy to find. It's on Amazon, and they just look up Becoming a Son. So I think they'll find it easily with that. And they can find me, through the book, but also at my website, davidkarchere.com.
And that is spelled David, D-A-V-I-D, Karchere, Karchere.com. So yes. You should go there because you've got your workshops and other things listed, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And my email list, so they can stay in touch and find out about things that I'm doing. I've created a course from the book, a 4-day course, and people have been having fabulous experiences with the course.
That's wonderful. I know that, some people need a total shift in mindset. And I would think that a program like yours would do that. And would you suggest reading the book before they take a course, or taking a course and then reading the book?
It could go either way. I've had people do both. So it truly can go either way. And I can proudly say that people are having a good experience with the book. And you write a book, you just never know. But people are just feeling enriched reading the book. It's in bite-sized chapters. So, a chapter a day, I always pictured it as being for a person reading. And they're finding it nourishing and heart connecting and then uplifting. So,
wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, folks, let me give you the name again. The name of the book is Becoming a Son, Emotional and Spiritual Intelligence for a Happy, Fulfilling Life. You can find that on Amazon. If you want to find out more about David, you can go to his website, David Karchere, Karchere.com. You can find out about his courses there. You can find out about the different things that he offers. And I think, if you are interested in this type of thing and how you can achieve it, that's where you need to go, because as you can tell, he's got a great deal of experience and has lived the regular life and now living in a totally different kind of sphere. So I want to thank you so much for being with us today, David. We've enjoyed it, and hopefully you're going to get some people who are interested in the information that you have to provide.
Well, lovely. And thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I choose my guests carefully, so if you have someone you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. In the meantime, check out my intro program, Mindset Matters, at www.sobmindset.com. See you next week.